Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Shalini Narayanan and I was with the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. Today we are going to talk on the module Social Media Platforms and Tools from the paper Media and Information Literacy. After completing this module, you should be able to understand what is social media, what are the kinds of social media platforms and tools available, and also the basic do's and don'ts for social media. Before we begin, let's first talk about the definition of social media. So, the most widely accepted definition is that it is a group of internet based applications that build on the ideological and technological foundations of Web 2.0 and that allow the creation of exchange of user generated content. This definition has been given by Kaplan and Heinlein in 2010. When we say Web 2.0, what do we mean? We mean the second stage of development of the internet, which is characterized especially by the change from static web pages to dynamic or user generated content and the growth of social media. So it all began with the invention of the World Wide Web by Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. So like using emails or weblogs, individuals could connect to others, but the service itself would not automatically connect you to others. But after that, at the turn of the millennium, online services shifted from offering channels for networked communication to becoming interactive, which meant a two-way vehicle for networked sociality. It was not long after the internet began that social media started. In 1997, one of the first social networking sites called 6 Degrees was started. This, at the height of its popularity, had around 1 million users. And if you compare that to the kind of worldwide presence Facebook has, on date it has over 1 billion users. So how it has progressed so fast in the last few years. Blogger was launched in 1999 to enable users to write weblogs, which are shortened to blogs, on the internet. Some more social media websites came up, one of them being Friendster, started in March 2002 and remained popular till about 2008. One other social media website which was very popular, which is still popular, came into existence in 2003, which was LinkedIn, and this enabled corporate bonding. And in the same year, we had MySpace, which was introduced, and then came Facebook in 2004. The microblogging website called Twitter was launched at the same time in 2006, and where members could tweet or write a short blog limited to 140 characters to give updates. In 2011, Google came forward with its own take on a social networking site with Google+, giving Facebook a run for its money. In between, so many social networking sites such as Orkut came and went. To go on to the characteristics that social media has, we have one definition from Jean M. Pursuit, who says that social media have these characteristics. One, that it is user driven. That is, it is not content which is given to a user, but the user can create content on a social networking site. It also invites group coordination, which is so important for networking, and it helps connect individuals and organizations. Apart from that, it also allows non-professionals to engage in content creation, and the best of the lot is that allows comments on public content, which was unheard of. We had letters to the editor. That was one form of getting in touch with a publishing house and getting your content out in the public domain. But social media allows anybody to post comments on public content. Some other characteristics of social media include accessibility or the ease of access. You don't really need anything apart from your mobile phone now to access social media. Then there is a characteristic of being permanent. So permanence or the indestructible nature of data which is created online can also be a problem in some ways, which we will come to in the later slides. Another characteristic which makes social media very unique is the reach or the ability to address a sizable audience at the same time. Whatever you put on social media has the ability to reach a large number of people at the same time. And the recency or the ability to be kept updated is another feature which is so important. Apart from being usable, that is, you can directly benefit the user of a social media website if that person has an account on that. So let's talk about the numbers in social media as of today. So all these statistics that I'll quote now are basically from wearesocial.net. So as of January 2016, 2.3 billion people were on social media platforms, which was around 31% of the global population, which means a third of the global population is accessing social media. Among the social media platforms, Facebook was the leading one, which was followed by WhatsApp, QQ, FB Messenger, and Qzone. QQ is one platform which we have not heard of much in India because it is limited to China, and it was originally started in Mandarin. It's an instant messaging service which is very popular in China, and it has one of the highest numbers of users and can be accessed on Windows, Android, as well as iOS operating systems. It has chat rooms, gaming, dating services, everything. The other novel social media platform that we don't hear about much in India is Qzone, which is again from China, and it is a blog service that allows users to keep diaries, share photos, videos, and listen to music. The sheer number of users of these services in China keep them at the top of the table in social media platforms across the globe. In South Asia, we have around 186 million people who are active on social media accounts. However, in India, only 10% of the population is on social media, which is much below the world average. At the same time, one encouraging statistic is that in India, we are spending about over 2 hours on social media, which is above the average time spent globally on social media. Now we are going to talk about social media platforms in particular. So when we say a social media platform, what we mean are those social networking websites that allow internet users to connect by sharing communicative content, build professional careers, and enjoy online social lives. This can be done in a number of ways. For example, we have websites for social interaction and communication such as facebook.com, googleplus.com, twitter.com, pinterest.com, linkedin.com. Now here the social interaction is in varied formats. For example, on Facebook, what we try to share is between friends, and these friends are your socially known people who you add onto your account, and you share what you think will interest them, and also of course to talk about your social life. However, something like Pinterest is a little different, where you actually pin some content onto the website which you think will interest those who are similar interests. And when you come to LinkedIn, there you have a professional gathering. If you can sort of imagine it in the real life, that is offline life, Facebook would be something like a social gathering where you meet with your peers and your friends and share a chai, coffee. You meet with them over a social setting. So Facebook would be something like that. Let's say you meet your friends and family at a social gathering, that would be Facebook. Whereas if you look at LinkedIn, that is something like an office party or an office gathering where you're talking about official matters and also about professional issues of concern. So that would be the offline equivalent to it. There are other forms of social media where you get together for collaborative purposes. For example, there's a website called wikipedia.com where actually people contribute content to the website, and all this content is of course referenced, and if you think some content is not correct, you are allowed to make changes in it. So I mean, who would have thought some years back that such a platform would be such a big success? But today it is. Similar to Wikipedia is the website called reddit.com. There are others called dig.com or delicious.com, where you can actually share content which you have found useful on the website in different ways. For example, in dig.com, you can like the content you have seen across various websites. Delicious is a bookmarking website. Reddit actually shares news content which you think could be of use to your particular peer group. Then there are other websites for multimedia sharing, such as flickr.com, vimeo.com, youtube.com, ustream.com. All these multimedia sharing websites allow those people to connect who have an interest in a particular hobby, let's say, or for example, photography. So you may be a good photographer, but you may need to you may like your peer group to look at your content and say what are their reactions to it. So you would probably go on to Flickr, where you would post your photographs. And of course, lately Instagram has been very popular in this regard, where you post your photographs, and when you get comments from your peer group about how it is, you find a lot of satisfaction because these are people who already understand photography. Similarly, with YouTube, you have the same kind of an approach where you share videos and you look for reaction from the peer group, which can help you decide. There are other social media websites for the purposes of entertainment. For example, secondlife.com, worldofwarcraft.com, miniclip.com, where Second Life is, for example, like a virtual reality entertainment website where you can have an alternate life, which gives you an opportunity to be entertained in a way which is very different from your usual games, where you can pretend to be somebody else. Similar is the case with other virtual reality websites. Miniclip.com shares gaming websites where you can actually go in. If you like to play puzzles, if you can go to Miniclip and find a word puzzle. If you like playing with words, you can have word games there. So it's a collection of that, and you can in fact play with other users of that content and create a network there. For instant messaging, you have other social media platforms such as WhatsApp, Viber, Skype, and even Facebook Messenger, which are doing quite well in India. Among the social media platforms in India, we find Facebook has become really popular, and it is leading the tally with 13% of those using social media preferring it. It is followed by Google Plus at 10%, Twitter at 8%, LinkedIn and Instagram both at 7%. All these figures that I'm giving you are from January 2016 and have been sourced from wearesocial.net. So these platforms that we've talked about, they enable those with access to the internet to share updates about themselves, to add knowledge in the public domain through collaboration, share skill-based media productions among peers, or entertain oneself. So as we can see, there are different ways of actually networking with individuals around you, and social media has enough platforms to keep giving you new ways to connect and interact with those surrounding you. We've not in fact talked of Snapchat, which has become very popular among youngsters in India, and it's doing quite well. It has the uniqueness of that particular platform is that it allows people to share videos and other content which is not saved onto the phone or even to your laptop or your desktop. So this allows people to have relative privacy, one, and the other thing is it does not take up much of your storage space. So Snapchat has become very popular among youngsters in urban areas in India that way. So let's talk a little in detail about Facebook. Facebook was started in 2004, that is around 12 years ago, by Mark Zuckerberg, and it was started as a means to help connect friends in Harvard University. When they started it, they really did not think it will become so big. But in India alone, it has crossed the 100 million user mark in 2014 itself. And compared to, if you look at it globally, it's second only to the US in numbers in India. As of January 2016, daily active users of Facebook in India were 69 million, nearly 90% of whom access the networking site through their mobile phones. This is another important phenomenon that has happened. People accessing social media websites more on the mobile phone, which is a smartphone, rather than going to a desktop or a laptop to access it. Again, if you look at the global population, which stands at around 7.4 billion people, we find that at least a fifth of them access Facebook at least monthly. Worldwide, the number of active daily users is about 1.09 billion, of which 989 million are accessing it through the mobile phone. India accounts for 13% of Facebook's global monthly active users, of which nearly half are daily active users. So let's take a look at how Facebook works. Of course, you need to have a connection to the internet, and you need to be able to access facebook.com. After that, you have to register yourself at the website facebook.com by filling out a form, the prerequisite for which is to have an email identity. So actually, before you can become part of Facebook, you need to first have an email ID, and then you can have a Facebook identity. So the website enables the user to put up a photograph of themselves so that others can identify them, and also to be able to showcase themselves to the outside world, and other information which they may like to share with social contacts. Children younger than 13 cannot be registered. And once you are become a member of Facebook, then the Facebook itself will pull up contacts from your mail ID to suggest who you can be friends with. Not only does Facebook suggest who you can be friends with, you can also add people who are already registered on Facebook as members, and you can add them as a friend to your profile or invite others to join as members. The site enables you to place your social updates, such as information about yourself, photos, videos about you, or those that you like, which are instantly available to your friends or groups of friends as per your choice. You have, of course, the choice to limit who can see your photograph. So, in fact, for all of your content, the user has control on who they may share that with. All updates by a user can be liked and commented on by those included as friends. Talking about Twitter, let's see how it actually came into existence. This was in 2006 that we are talking. So this year, Twitter completes a decade. It was started by Evan Williams, Biz Stone, Noah Glass, and Jack Dorsey. And it was started as a way to share short messages or tweets that could be instantly accessed by a number of people and could be shared through retweeting. The word tweets or tweeting, they are now part of daily lexicon, and in fact you'll find them in the Oxford Dictionary itself. But when they started, it was a very new thing. Why they had this idea of having a very short message to share is because they realized that the attention span of the average person who's going on to social media websites is very, very short. So they have limited all updates to 140 characters. However, even if you give such a short update, you can include a tiny URL or a tiny website which can lead you to more information. Also, it is possible to have photographs and videos which can be linked to your update to give more information. So the Twitter success story is a testament to the short attention span of the literati who like to consume content in short bursts. And Twitter has been trying to build on what they have so far by introducing new features. For instance, Periscope. This has been lately added, and it allows a Twitter user to give a live broadcast of an event. And for this, you have to just download Periscope along with Twitter, and you can actually use it on your Twitter timeline. This is very useful for those who do not have access to the expensive broadcast technology, and hence it's a very powerful tool in the hands of a common person. Twitter allows even unregistered users to see your tweets, which is a very unique feature that they have. But whoever is not registered on the website cannot post any on the website. Another exciting feature of Twitter is the use of hashtags or phrases which are prefixed by the hash sign, which can help categorize or group messages on the same subject. This not only allows the message to be more searchable, but also enables trends to be spotted. In fact, that is one of the first things that those addicted to Twitter will do. Every few hours, they'll be checking on what are the trends that are figuring in their particular area. Twitter has this unique aspect where you can actually decide which location you want to see what is trending. For example, if I am based in Delhi, I can actually see what are the trends in Delhi and use them and search them on Twitter and contribute my own share also perhaps to that. For example, we had this trending hashtag Sundays are cool sometime back. And if you went on to Twitter and you saw it in the trending hashtags, you could click on that and you would go to all tweets having that particular phrase with a hashtag in front of them. And if you would like to contribute, you could probably add Sundays are cool, because Mondays are not there as yet, or anything, whichever you like. And all your followers and those who search for that particular trend would be able to locate your tweet. In India, among the prominent users of Twitter are Amitabh Bachchan, the Bollywood thespian, who has 21.5 million followers as of July 2016. But he is closely followed by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, with 21.1 million followers. Cricketer Sachin Tendulkar also has an account on Twitter and he has 11.4 million followers, though he was late to join the club. And among the members of parliament who are popular on Twitter are Shashi Tharoor, who has 4.3 million followers. Now we are going to talk about WhatsApp. WhatsApp has been like a tidal wave that has come in. Today it's having over 900 million users worldwide. It's a cross-platform social messaging application and enjoys tremendous popularity both in India and abroad. It allows users connected digitally to exchange short messages for free and is available on Android, Windows, iOS and all other platforms. WhatsApp has a unique feature of giving the option to share content such as photographs, videos along with text instantaneously. At the moment, it allows a maximum of 256 users to connect via their phone numbers. And thus, it forms more intimate groups than, say, Facebook, where the average number of friends on your profile would be double of this number at least. All of us in India are probably, at least I'm talking about the urban connected population alone, and all of us would probably be part of many groups. You could have a family group, you could have a work group, you could have friends from school days as another group, and so many million ways to connect like that. But the numbers that I'm quoting here are sourced from Medianama. After Facebook acquired WhatsApp messaging in a $19 billion payout in 2014, the clout of the social media platform has increased dramatically as WhatsApp figures as number one in social media messenger or chat app platforms in India in January 2016. Out of all those who are using social media messaging services in India, 12% are on WhatsApp. This is even more than those using Facebook Messenger, which stands at 11%. Skype, Hike, and WeChat are also quite popular, with Skype having a following of 10% of the population, Hike having 8%, and WeChat having 6% of those using social media messaging services using these platforms. Now we come to the other aspect of social media. We've seen what social media websites can do, but how do we evaluate and monitor social media presence of various organizations or even individually? So for that we need to use social media tools. So for monitoring and evaluation of an organization or a person's social media presence, there are a number of tools that can be employed. And these tools are very handy for marketers who can judge how their brands are being perceived in the social media space. Not only marketers, celebrities are also keen to find out how the public sentiment is towards them. And these tools are very popular for that. Some of them which are free, those such as Facebook Insights, Google Alerts, Pinterest Web Analytics, Cloud, and Social Mention. But there are more such tools which are paid for, such as Hootsuite, Brandwatch, Social Response. Among social media tools that are free, you have Facebook Insights. So if you have your personal page on Facebook Insight, on Facebook itself, and you want to find out how it is doing. For example, I have a personal profile, but I also have a page for a particular cause that I'm concerned about. So for that, I have created a separate page for which I have the admin rights. So through Facebook Insights, I can see what kind of responses have been there on my Facebook page. So this gives you data on responses to your Facebook page, showing metrics around your content. This data includes user engagement and demographics, for example. For instance, I have a page called Aadhaar, which is about a cooperative which is being run out of Jharkhand at the moment. And it has various products on display such as terracotta and metalwork. And since I have the admin rights to this, I I will keep posting photographs and other content to keep my users engaged. So when I see the insight that Facebook gives me about my page, it not only shows where the geographical location of those who are liking my page are, it will also show how often people have come to the page, what has been the reach, that is how many people have actually seen the page that I am hosting, and it will also shows the engagement that I have been able to garner. There's another feature which is very important, which also shows similar pages and how their responses are over time. So Facebook Insights is a very useful tool for me to map how my audience is perceiving this particular page that I host, and accordingly I can tweak my content to get more viewers on board, or else see what are the popular posts. Maybe if I do a quiz, people are showing more interest. Sometimes it happens that if you post content in a different language, for example, instead of posting in English, if I post in Hindi, I might get a better response. So Facebook Insights helps me to manage that particular aspect, and I moderate my content to fit in with what gets me the best response out of it. Another free tool that is available is Google Alerts. This is one which allows you to get alerts on any content which are actually of interest to you. For example, if you would like to be notified every time there is some content posted on the phrase social media in India, you could put that phrase in, and at any point in time when there is content about it, Google will automatically send you an alert on your email and you could go through those. On Pinterest, you have a similar tool called Pinterest Web Analytics, which gives an insight to website owners of the content from their site being shared on Pinterest. It is similar to what Facebook does, but since the nature of the two social media websites is different, the analytics that are given are differently placed. But again, it's a very important tool to see whether you're doing what you're doing on Pinterest is serving its purpose or no. Apart from that, you have another tool called Klout. This actually uses the Klout. The platform itself is actually spelled Klout, but it uses the Klout of your users on social media so that they become your brand ambassadors. So through Klout, you can point out the influential users on your social media websites so that you can empower them to become your brand ambassadors. For instance, you will notice that there are some people who will keep coming back to your website, and if they have a sizable following of their own, it would make sense for you to rope them into your own messaging. So Klout can give you an idea of who are the influential users who are coming to your website so that they can become your brand ambassadors. Another important tool is Hootsuite. It has some free features, other parts of it are paid for. This actually is a tool which is more suited to a business organization probably. It gives you a wide range of inputs on audience engagement, scheduling engagements, and measuring the return on investment, which is so important for a brand which is out there. This tool actually also allows you to access analytics across platforms, which is so important for a competitive organization in the market. Apart from that, there is this tool called Brandwatch, which helps track brands in social media, the level of engagement, mentions, sentiments, tracking, and others. So when you say sentiment, some of these tools are very, very easily give you the public response to any change that you've made. It can be a very useful tool for a policymaker also. For example, in Delhi, we had the odd and even experiment where vehicles with the odd number plates or license plates were allowed to ply on odd dates, and similarly, vehicles with even numbers were allowed to ply on even dates. So when the policy was announced, it was important for the Delhi government to understand how its reception was going to be from the public. And it was heartening to know that the sentiment towards it expressed using social media tools, that is understood through social media tools, was positive. So that gives in a kind of, however, at the end of the experiment, again, there was a sentiment analysis and the sentiments were not as positive as they were before the experiment. So these are the kind of tools that can help even in policy decisions. And for organizations that are going into the market, it's a very useful tool. One last social media tool which is free, that I'd like to mention here, called Social Response. Social Response allows users to build dynamic Facebook fan pages and have one-on-one interaction with audiences and real-time responses. This again is an extremely useful tool for an organization to have. Let's talk of the impact of the use of social media. So generally speaking, there is a positive correlation between economic activities and the use of social media. Social media applications are there in every field, from healthcare to business, entrepreneurship to governance, and commerce to education. Changes in governance in countries such as Egypt, Tunisia in 2010-11, dubbed as the Arab Spring, were attributed in some part to protests triggered by social media, some scholars going as far as to call them the Facebook revolution. Other scholars such as Robin Jeffrey have attributed to the humble mobile phone and by implication social media the power to connect and organize, which are vital tools in social movements. Some of the care that needs to be taken in using social media include when you're using social media as an individual. While using social media online, we need to exercise the same kind of care and caution as in the case of offline relationships. You need to proceed with caution in befriending unknown people and beware of scamsters. One has to remember that data once placed online continues to live in some form or the other for eternity. Pictures posted in the flush of youth as bravado or dare continue to haunt the user in late adulthood too, surfacing somewhere or the other. Data placed online can be deleted from the user's device but will not be erased from the recipients or from servers or digital clouds where it has been stored. Another thing we need to guard against is identity theft. Scamsters can use personal information from Facebook to create a fake identity and use it to commit fraud. The only way to do that is to be vigilant, never give out financial information to unknown people or apps. Also, social networking sites allow you to be accessed by strangers, especially in chat rooms. As with every other media, overuse of social media has also been derided by scholars as causing a disconnect with the offline world. Now, what is the social media user profile going to be? So the profile of social media users in India is set to change from urban, young, English-knowing male users to more rural, older, vernacular female users in the next 3 years, as per a report done by the Internet and Mobile Association of India, IAMAI. IAMAI also projects that the number of social media users in India is likely to reach around 500 million by 2018. Given the kind of reach expected, the Government of India has been proactive in increasing its presence on social media, with even the President and Prime Minister having profiles on the major social media platforms. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. 1. Social media are a product of the last decade of the last millennium and were enabled once Web 2.0 came into being. Different from the traditional media such as newspapers, television and radio, social media are characterized by interactivity and user-generated content. To define, social media are a group of internet-based applications that build on the ideological and technological foundations of Web 2.0 and that allow the creation of exchange of user-generated content. When we say Web 2.0, we mean the second version of the web. Some examples of social media are Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, etc. When we say social media platforms, we mean those social networking websites that allow internet users to connect by sharing communicative content, to build professional careers and enjoy online social lives. For monitoring and evaluation of an organization or a person's social media presence, there are a number of social media tools that can be employed, such as Facebook Insights, Google+, Analytics, Hootsuite, etc. The impact of social media on economic activities has generally been that of a positive correlation. Social media has had major impacts on governments and continues to have. Given the kind of numbers who are likely to have access to social media in India in the next 3 years, the Indian government has given a push to its presence on various platforms, connecting with stakeholders and providing services through social media. On an individual level, users need to understand issues of privacy, safety, and identity theft and exercise caution in sharing of information. Thank you.